The atmosphere is becoming primed and ready here across the central U.S. for another severe weather outbreak over the same areas that saw quite a bit of activity just Friday. We've got a moderate risk of severe weather across parts of Iowa and then down into Arkansas as well. So two main areas that we're watching into the overnight. So quite the setup here, another classic spring storm where we've got a wide range of severe weather, all following Gulf moisture up. But at the same time, we've got blizzard warnings and winter storm warnings here across a swath of Minnesota into the Dakotas, back into Wyoming. So literally everything with this storm system. Just a classic textbook setup here for a spring storm. So the bulk of the moisture going already is the snow that we're seeing in a wintry mix across Minnesota back into the Dakotas. But we have been seeing some thunderstorms out ahead of the main activity here into southern Wisconsin and also northern Illinois. The low pressure center is back to the west here across Colorado. And we'll show you here, these are called streamlines. This is basically the flow of air. And we've got quite the warm front here spread across the plains here, Iowa into Illinois. This is going to be the focus for some of those supercells. And then a cold front that is going to be stretching here out of the western plains into Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and all of that moving east. So that will create that second bullseye of severe weather here across portions of Missouri and Arkansas. And along and behind the warm front is where we're seeing those high dew points, that instability really grow here, and that's reflected in the supercell index, which has been, of course, increasing here with that daytime heating, especially into Missouri and then back into Oklahoma. But this whole area is going to be expanding northward as the warm front lifts north, not all the way into Minnesota, but you get the idea, moving into Iowa and into Illinois right at peak heating time, at the same time that that low pressure center and that cold front starts to track east, and that upper level wave really kicks in from the west. And so this is showing the forecast, a significant tornado parameter directly proportionate tied to that supercell index. And again, you can see it really expand north into Iowa and then develop along the cold front later in the evening as well. And that's why we're looking at those two main areas. First into Iowa, Illinois, southern Wisconsin, and then a little bit later in the evening hours across Arkansas and into parts of Oklahoma, southern Missouri. So in particular, we are looking at that initial round of supercells developing across Iowa into Illinois. This is where the significant tornado parameter is highest. This is at about 6-7 p.m. this evening. Not as high, still significant to the south, but we're going to wait a little later for that cold front to really destabilize things on the southern end. Here are those storms popping initially into Iowa, southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois. Could even have some large hail with elevated storms in southeastern Minnesota. And then that second round of storms popping up here, southern Missouri into Arkansas. So those two separate main areas. So these are those storms at 7 p.m. across Iowa. You can see several potential discrete supercells. This is forecast from the HRR model, and not much going on yet here in Oklahoma, but we'll be watching at that time to start to see those storms that'll be developing on that southern end. So that's what we're watching across the central U.S. Could be another long evening for several states from Iowa, southern Wisconsin, Illinois, all the way almost to the Gulf of Mexico, Tuesday evening into Tuesday night.